Hey guys, it's Tornado Boy 200 here, and today it's another Throwback Thursday episode. Here's Throwback Thursday, episode 3, The Tornado in Leitchfield, Kentucky, part 2. Now, this is the same one as last week's Throwback Thursday, but I know it's February 11th, and I just want to wish you guys a happy Valentine's Day, which is in 3 days. So, if you guys are watching right now, spoil your girlfriend's rotten. So anyway, let's get started with the Throwback Thursday video.
The runway, Michelle Prim and her neighbors.
What they were doing.
Listing on the National Register requires federal project sponsors or federal agencies to consider what impact their projects will have on historic resources, and every effort has to be made to reduce adverse effects to these properties.
Michelle Prim and her neighbors' hard work paid off. Their neighborhood was designated a historic district, which might ultimately lead to saving the restored 200-year-old home. In nearby Woodford County, Bob Clay purchased a farm that is now home to Triple Crown winner Seattle Slew. Bob, like Michelle, was committed to preserving Kentucky's equestrian history.
It's a wonderful place to raise horses. We have in Lexington the cream of the crop with regard to the stallions in the world.
While serving in Vietnam, Clay heard that a Lexington farm was for sale. In 1972, he purchased the property called Three Chimneys Farm.
It was in horrific condition. It hadn't been lived in several years. It had become sort of a commune of sorts. There was no working electricity or plumbing. Dirt floor in the back. It was in terrible condition.
With no experience in restoration but a great deal of dedication, Bob Clay and a carpenter spent the next year making the farm livable. In 1995, a federal-style front portico was added, complete with columns and banister railings that were common in the 1820s. Today, the graceful portico welcomes racehorse enthusiasts eager to see one of the world's most famous horses, Triple Crown winner Seattle Slew. Seattle Slew is stabled on grounds that have been preserved. Like Michelle Prim, Bob Clay has taken steps to ensure that farmland will remain untouched by development. He formed the Bluegrass Conservancy, an organization that allows individuals to donate their land for farm use only, and he donated his.
Bob Clay's easement donation was the first one in central Kentucky, and we hope that it will set the pace for additional easements to be granted and to preserve this really incredibly unique environment.
Michelle Prim and Bob Clay, two Kentuckians committed to restoring and saving an important part of their state's heritage. Kentuckians are fiercely proud of their legacy. That pride is motivating them to protect and preserve their history, from horse farms to churches to beautiful old homes. I'm Bob Vila. Join us again as we showcase and celebrate communities and the people in them working to restore America.
What determines a good life? Wealth, love, or life's journey itself? Meet people who found the answers they were seeking and now enjoy the good life.
If this isn't the good life, then there's no such thing.
Their stories will inspire you on The Good Life. Tonight at 10:30 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
I'm Bob Vila. Next week, Restore America travels to Vermont.
Near Burlington, an old Army fort becomes the unlikely setting for families to own a piece of history. And in Manchester, the restoration of the Robert Todd Lincoln Mansion and Garden.
Join me for Restore America next Sunday night at 10 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
be in Halfway, Oregon, near the Hells Canyon Recreation Area.
Choose one of Acrea's locations in Louisville or Elizabethtown.
Do you understand what your kids are saying?
What's up, G?
Do you sometimes feel like you need a translator?
Little Lodi be flossing with his bling.
News Channel 32 breaks
through the homes and through most of the large factories in the industrial park. Now, in addition, the aerial pictures and the damage on the ground is providing important information to observers from the U.S. Weather Service, from the Weather Service office in Louisville. 2 meteorologists are taking a look at the damage because they can look at the trees and the roofs and the other damage to tell just how strong the storm was yesterday. And in talking with one of the meteorologists, Norm Reichmeyer, a few moments ago, he says that they're looking at whether this tornado is perhaps an F2 or an F3 on a scale of 1 to 5, with the 5 being the heaviest winds and the most damage in a storm. And they'll look at the damage, and the meteorologists will come up with a definite figure in their estimate anyway of the damage of the tornado and how strong it was a little bit later this afternoon, perhaps an F2 or an F3 on a scale of 1 to 5. Again, we're waiting for word from Lieutenant Governor Henry in a little bit here as far as what the state will do, and perhaps the feds as far as some help to come to Leitchfield and Grayson County. This is the first step toward doing all of the paperwork type things, declaring the area an emergency, a disaster area, so to speak, so that that process can get moving as far as to bring some state and federal disaster relief here, some money for low interest loans and otherwise to help in the rebuilding process, both for the businesses and the homes damaged here. Again, much more tonight at 10 as well. Let's go to Kevin Raymer now. And Kevin, I understand that some of the folks doing the cleanup possibly could get wet, maybe even have some severe weather here as well.
There's some possibility, Chris, of a little bit more in the way of thunderstorm action this afternoon. Now, the good news at this point is all is quiet right now across.
Some big insurance companies like to argue that people aren't injured in
After the tornado yesterday, there were some arrests. We don't know if that involved looting. We don't have a full report on that just yet. And this very small town, this very small county is already overtaxed. They had problems with a shooting last night. A man was shot some 5 times. None of this, we believe, was related to the tornado, but some hectic times for the people here in Grayson County. Now, Lieutenant Governor Steve Henry is here earlier. He's down now touring some of the area. We'll have more on News Channel 32 a little bit later. For now, I'm Bill Alexander in Grayson County. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Actually, we'll have that right now. As Bill said, Lieutenant Governor Steve Henry is visiting the storm-ravaged area today. Henry arrived shortly before noon after touring the area by helicopter. He stopped at Leitchfield Industrial Park and will get a first-hand look at homes damaged by the tornado. Governor Patton is on an international trade trip to Japan. The damage in Leitchfield was the worst in the area, but other parts were hit hard as well.
Yeah, meteorologist Jim O'Brien's in the Weather Center with more on that now. Jim?
Yeah, it was really an interesting storm cell that passed right over areas, actually of Hancock County, and then worked through Breckenridge County, depositing some heavy hail. In fact, we had reports of 1 to 2 inch size in diameter, or even baseball-sized hail that worked across the areas of Hardinsburg. Then, of course, it actually touched down into the form of a tornado near Leitchfield. It worked its way off towards the south into the southeast. Roofs were blown off, where trees were turned around as well. Now, we're still looking at the thunderstorm outlook for today, with the greatest risk or the best potential thunderstorms really setting up once again across areas of wet
County. You're looking at the industrial district, several businesses destroyed and flattened. You look at the twisted, mangled roof of one of the businesses there.
The twister that tore through Grayson County hit homes and businesses with equal force.
Now, hundreds of people are wondering when or if they'll be able to go back to work. Andy Alcock is live in News Chopper 32 with details. Andy, how about it?
Well, that's the million-dollar question right now, Rick. But preliminary estimates to businesses alone are millions of dollars in damages. Of course, the final figure won't be known until all the debris is cleared away and insurance folks have had a chance to take a look. As we take a look now live down on News Chopper 32, we can see the damage to the Leggett and Platt factory, just one of several businesses feeling the effects of yesterday's tornado. Like every Wednesday, Sidney Alvey was at work at Litchfield's Leggett and Platt factory, plant where sofa bed parts are made. But it was far from a normal day for the tool and die worker. Alvey and his fellow employees were helping clean up the day after a tornado ripped through the plant, causing major damage and leaving 250 jobs, including Alvey's, in jeopardy.
Well, they're not really telling us anything right now. I guess they're just going to see what happens, as far as the other part of the building it's not that bad. This is the bad end. And
Across the street from Leggett and Platt, workers at Skyline, an office furniture plant, were also cleaning up. The tornado demolished one side of that plant, leaving a mountain of rubble and the business shut down.
We have a structural engineer coming in, then that's going to evaluate the situation so then we can determine where we need to make our repairs and so we can get up on our feet as soon as possible.
Local leaders say several businesses suffered major crippling damage, affecting an estimated 2,000 jobs in a town with only 6,500 residents.
2,000 jobs plays a big part in a small community, and we're going to work hard to try to help them in every way we can.
you know, everybody here pretty much well needs a job. You know, and if it's gone, we don't know what's going to happen. They haven't told us nothing yet on that.
As we take a look live down from News Chopper 32, local leaders tell us the unemployment rate in Grayson County has been running at less than 4%. Of course, depending on what happens to these damaged businesses, that figure could take a dramatic turn for the worse. Rick?
All right, thank you, Andy. Now, after looking at some of the damage in Litchfield's industrial park, it's amazing that no one was seriously hurt. As Andy showed us at the Skyline plant, where an entire side of the building was demolished, only 5 people suffered injuries. They were brought to the hospital and later released. Plant management credits a storm safety plan employees had practiced in recent weeks. The company had also recently purchased a weather radio and a new public address system to warn employees that were outside.
So all those factors combined with 4 or 5 lead people making smart decisions was the reason that we were able to avoid any serious injuries.
The company safety team from its headquarters in Huntingburg, Indiana, helped install that plan. And as you can see, if you would like to help the victims of this disaster,
tornado could have hit your house, could have been my house, could have been her house, could have been anyone's.
The Red Cross is coordinating with other organizations to get help where it's needed most.
Most of the families, and what's great about this community is they've got friends and neighbors and relatives that have taken them in during their time of need, and that really helps.
And plans are already being made for long-term relief for those who lost their jobs and their homes.
We will be able to pay utility bills. We will be able to possibly pay rent and whatever that they need. We'll find a way to do it.
But they're so sweet to come by and offer us food and stuff.
Helps a bit, huh?
Yes, it helps a great bit, I tell you.
Now, it's ironic, many of these businesses here in the industrial park often donate to charities and relief agencies in times of need, and now they're the ones who need help from those very agencies. Let's go live now upstairs to Sky 11. George Sells has more on how things look from up above. George?
Well, Lawrence, looking down from up here, what's striking is just the incredible amount of work this community has, Litchfield and Grayson County. It's a hazy, humid day, a miserable one to be doing heavy work outside, but that's just what dozens of families are faced with here in Litchfield and the Grayson County area. The good news, despite the conditions being right, there's been no more thunderstorms, no more severe weather, though the skies are starting to look a little bit threatening at this hour. And this area has been a beehive of activity for the entire day, as seemingly everyone in town is pitching in to begin the cleanup. Insurance adjusters have been moving literally from house to house, trying to help answer the hardest question, and that's the question of where to start. I mean, take a look at that, and you try to tell me where you'd begin if you had to start the cleanup down there. That's what folks are faced with at this hour. I think at this point, one thing they're hoping for the most is probably just that the weather will hold, and they won't have to face any more severe weather tonight, because I'll tell you what, if anybody deserves a break right now, it's the people down here who face so much work, not just in Litchfield, but remember this thing cut about a 10-mile path across Grayson County from west to east, and there are a lot of homes that were damaged and destroyed outside of Litchfield. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to show you what may have been the last one to be hit by the twister, and it also may have been hit the hardest. Live in Sky 11, George Sells, WHAS 11 News.
All right, George, thanks. And we're now learning today more information about the characteristics of this tornado. You say at one time it was similar to what moved through Bullitt County in '96.
Yeah, Bullitt County actually was an F3 and an F4. This was an F3. So the Bullitt County tornado did have a little period where it was an F4 and did a little more damage.
That's winds of about what at one time?
Oh, an F4 has winds above 175 miles an hour. F3 has winds up to about 175 miles an hour. And that's the Weather Service went out today, and they always look at the damage, and that's how they determine how many tornadoes there were and what it was. And as you see in Litchfield, it started out as 3 funnel clouds, turned into one actual tornado that actually touched the ground, and it was an F3, carrying winds of about 175 miles an hour. There was also a second tornado in Burdick near Highway 55 in Taylor County. That was an F0. They checked all the damage across all those southern counties, and there were no other tornadoes, just those 2.
And that videotape, we've been seeing that classic look of there it is, the first video we have seen yet of a tornado.
This is what was in episode. This is what was in episode
more than one funnel
2.
cloud that combined. You could just see them sort of merging into one tornado.
All right, Beth, thanks. Gene?
All right, you two. The pictures coming out of Leitchfield, Kentucky are hauntingly familiar to people living in Pioneer Village. A devastating tornado ripped through that city nearly 4 years ago. As Eric Zager reports, time has put the houses and businesses back together, but it has not healed all wounds.
Phil Radford remembers the tornado that leveled hundreds of homes and damaged some businesses as if it touched down yesterday in Pioneer Village.
Sounded like it was plucking a chicken, just blink, 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 blink.
It's been nearly 4 years since the twister tore through the city, but Radford still feels like he's paying for it today.
It brings it all back.
The tornado was double trouble. It took a chunk out of his concrete yard decoration business.
Where it goes up and breaks over, it took the biggest part of that roof off.
And it left its mark on his house.
What did you think was going to be here when you got here?
Nothing.
Much to his surprise, Radford's home was still standing. His barn, garage, and another building was not.
They had failed to put it on my policy, so it cost me $14,000 to get it put back up.
Radford didn't realize the building was not covered, and to boot, he was underinsured. Out of pocket, he figures the 1996 tornado cost him $30,000.
It hurts, you know, when you have to come up with that kind of money.
To top it off, the ceiling inside his store caved in. He couldn't reopen for about a month. Radford doesn't need pictures to recall. He has a memorial out back.
All of this is stuff that I never did haul off. It was been laying here ever since the tornado.
Headless ducks and split flower pots. Radford knows how fast life can change forever.
All his life, Phil Radford wanted to see a tornado, so he stood near the door to his business and watched it come over the hill.
And hopefully I'll never, see another one. Not even at a distance.
Eric Zager, WHAS 11 News.
Now, Phil Radford also remembers that he got help from strangers who drove 100 miles or more to lend a hand. Radford wants to return the favor to folks in Litchfield. The problem is his business is in its peak season now.
Well, tornadoes are not as uncommon as you think. This year, 414 twisters have already been reported by the National Weather Service in the United States. An overwhelming majority of those took place this month. Last year, over 1,300 tornadoes were recorded.
6:30. Later, Beth has her full weather.
Also coming up at 6, the amazing story of somebody who survived last night's storm. You'll also hear what the Lieutenant Governor had to say about the damage after he toured it today. And once again, you'll see more of that exclusive home video you've seen only so far on WHAS 11.
Coverage now of the tornadoes in Litchfield with Charles Frazee, who is with the Disaster Emergency Services there.
Charlie, are you with us?
Oh, Doug, Gene.
Hi, how you doing? We both know you, of course, from covering stories with you in the past. You know, Charlie, we just showed videotape of that tornado, the classic-looking narrow funnel there. You were in Bullitt County when the tornado came through. How would you describe the scene you're seeing in Litchfield compared to that?
I think, of course, in Bullitt County, it actually went into Spencer, too, and a little bit of Jefferson, so there's a lot more damage. But as far as the destruction, like if you were to rate it, I would say it'd be pretty close as far as an F2 or F3, somewhere in that area.
Now, Charlie, apparently the power's back on to those folks in the area. Now, what is the first thing they must do? Do they need to assess what they've lost or try to recover what they can, or what?
That's a real good question. They need to keep close contact with their insurance folks, because in tornadoes, a lot of the damage, especially for homeowners, is covered by your homeowner's insurance. We usually get into problems with floods where we don't have people that are insured or underinsured. And my best recommendation would be stay as close with your insurance agent as you possibly can, because not only making repairs to your house, but getting rid of the debris, like the 2x4s and and the wood that goes along with it, and things that were destroyed and came off the house, the shingles and so on.
Charlie, before we let you go, how would you rank the warning system that is set up in Leitchfield? One dispatcher told us yesterday that there was one siren. I've heard others say there were several sirens. You had a lot of companies that needed to be warned. Obviously, we have no fatalities. How would you rank it tonight?
Well, I think you have to, there's a lot of people to thank for that. It's not only getting the warning through dispatch to the sirens, but also the meteorologists, even the TV folks and the Doppler radars that you all have invested in, as well as the Weather Service. That allows a warning much better than what we used to get, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, or even, I guess, 5 years ago. So that really helps a lot. And then another thing that helped too, Doug, was the fact that a lot of times these incidents occur at night and people are asleep and they can't get the warning, they can't hear sirens. So we recommend they get a NOAA weather alert radio so that it can wake them up in the middle of the night while they're asleep.
All right.
Good information.
We've been talking with Charlie Frazee with the State Disaster and Emergency Services there in Leitchfield with the cleanup effort going on now. Taking a look at our Storm Team Doppler radar, certainly a much quieter night. You can see there's one little thunderstorm down here towards Bowling Green, nothing north of there. Any development we get looks like it'll be south of here. So for the most part, maybe just a slight chance we could see a shower or thunderstorm tonight, but for the most part, it's looking pretty clear around the metro area. Taking a look now at our satellite and radar loop over the past 12 hours, we had some thunderstorms in the area overnight. Those moved out during the day today. We really haven't had a lot of activity. Started to have a thunderstorm kick up in western Kentucky, but
amazing how quickly people got to work today. They wasted no time, rolled up their sleeves, and began the task of removing debris and trying to piece together what is left and what is salvageable from this horrible storm that ripped through here yesterday. We've talked about the generosity of the companies that weren't hit hard by the storm, how they're trying to help their neighbors and their colleagues rebuild after disaster. When it strikes, it always seems to bring out the best in people, but it also can bring out the worst. And a warning tonight just to let folks know, there are times whenever you have a disaster situation like this occur, you have construction crews that may come in. The folks here, officials here, warning people to be careful about the crews that they hire to do work. Try to avoid at all costs consumer fraud. Just be careful. Again, the work that's going on today, fortunately, is taking place because the weather has so far cooperated. John Belsky says we may be in for some storms tonight, and that's bad news for people still trying to get their roofs back on. John?
That's right, Cheryl. Although the good news there is that I think it's going to be widely scattered, and many areas will not get the rain at all. Then a break tomorrow and most of Friday. So hopefully we'll make a bit of progress there. Hey, summertime has temporarily arrived. It is hot outside.
LPNs.
There in the distance, you see the tornado, menacing and huge as it whips up homes and businesses. You can see the various tones of gray from the debris flying into the air. This was shot by a truck driver who happened to be traveling through the area at the time. Here, you see what our meteorologists and the National Weather Service have been talking about. The tornado splits apart. There, forming two funnel clouds at this point, quickly separating and reforming again. We'll show you once again in slow motion. The tornado separating over the business area. The impact of the twister has already toppled tractor trailers in its path. And tonight, we know the damage that was done.
Meanwhile, Julie Persley is back in Leitchfield, Kentucky, and she joins us now with the latest live. Julie?
Gary, state officials have been here all day surveying the damage. Emergency management gave us the numbers that they have now. They know that 16 people were hurt. The most serious injury was a broken leg. 15 businesses were damaged, including the one behind us here in the industrial park. We also know 80 to 100 homes were damaged. 16 homes were destroyed. One of those homes was owned by a lady named Judy Haycraft. Her quick thinking may have saved her granddaughters' lives.
Try to save something.
This shell of a house is what Judy Haycraft used to call home. She wrote out the twister in a bathroom with her 3 young granddaughters.
Hurried them, put them in here, and set them down, and I just stood over them to protect them. I just, like this, just kept standing over them and made sure they stayed in one spot and didn't move. I didn't want them to try to get out.
Haycraft said she didn't realize the power of the twister until she walked outside. Her neighbor's home was still standing. Hers was ripped apart. The only thing that looked untouched, a shovel filled with symbols of her faith.
Yeah, they were there watching me.
I know the Lord watched over us, all I can tell you. Had to. We just built a new shop. Going to be moving here in about a week.
Business owners are also counting their blessings that everyone survived. Now they're salvaging what they can, preparing to move on.
Yeah, I don't have nothing now to put in that don't look like, but I salvaged a whole lot of stuff, I believe. But as far as paperwork and office, all that's gone.
The industrial park in Leitchfield was one of the hardest hit areas. Employees here say they're ready to get back to work.
A lot of us not really soaked in either, but as long as we know that we can rebuild back and still be together as a team, you know, we'll make it. We'll survive, I believe.
And they will survive with the help of the state and the county. Officials have told us they're going to try to provide unemployment insurance for the folks who will have to go without paychecks until some of these businesses are rebuilt. They said they will also try to help people pay their rent and utility bills. The Red Cross is here trying to provide food for folks. It also had a shelter set up. Most people haven't been using that because folks from the community have pitched in and taken in family, their friends and family, so that they won't have to worry about where they can stay. Also, the National Guard is here trying to keep traffic flowing on the streets and trying to keep people safe. Reporting live from Litchfield, Julie Persley, WHAS 11 News.
And some of those 2,000 residents of Leitchfield may be temporarily unemployed while some factories get back online. 8 businesses in the industrial park were damaged. 4 of those businesses were destroyed. The path of the tornado went right through Styline Industries. Instead of processing wood today, employees there were on the job cleaning up.
What we went through, how we came through it as a team, I think the cleanup is going to be a challenge, but I know that we can do it as a team.
Styline says it will try and resume production in stages. Lieutenant Governor Steve Henry says the Commonwealth will do what it can to help the businesses and the homeowners rebuild. Henry toured the damaged area today by helicopter. He saw what was left of more than a dozen homes and several businesses. He says he hopes that the area will be eligible for federal funds.
The issue is we need to make an assessment of the damage before we can even determine whether FEMA funds will be available or small business loans will be available. And so that's where we are in this process, and I think we're 24 to 48 hours away from it.
And Henry will report to the governor, who could request that Grayson County be made a federal disaster area. Meanwhile, National Guardsmen and police officers are trying to keep onlookers away from the tornado sites.
That damage is most noticeable in Litchfield, but homeowners on both ends of Grayson County found themselves in the tornado's path as it hopscotched across the landscape. George Sells joins us now live from Sky 11 with the story of one couple whose retirement home was knocked down by the tornado's tail. George?
Well, Gary, 10 miles, a little more than that. In fact, that was the length of the path of damage across Grayson County. After slamming through Litchfield, the tornado tore another 5 miles east. Those winds that peaked at 175 miles per hour seem to have been at their fiercest right here. Believe it or not, what you're looking at was a 2-story house. There were 23,000 bricks. The owners learned heartbreakingly that the end of a tornado's path is a place where you can be hit the hardest.
Raymond and Carol Hill are walking through the remains of their dreams.
Well, what you looking for? Just kind of like you just kind of looking for something.
This was the couple's retirement home. They were moving in just a few weeks. Yesterday, they came after the storm.
All the way from town up through here, I didn't see a broken limb or no leaves on the road, and so I guess I got feeling maybe that it missed us. And when you come around the curve there, it was an empty spot. The house was gone.
Ray said, "Oh, the house is gone." I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "But the garage is still standing." "Yes, it is." And I said, "But your son's house is still there."
I don't know the terminology to use for it. Just like you just go into a trance or something, you know. It's a mess.
And they don't know where they'll begin cleaning it up.
It's a crowd at the front door. But they have plenty of front doors. Don't rain.
The foundation of the brick 2-story is in place. The first floor across the street. The second?
For the wood.
Woods, which are the center of a debris trail nearly a mile long from the house.
That was Rodale's leaving right.
But now they'll move on. They'll retire here, come hell or this.
I always wanted a home in the country, so I guess I'll start all over again. I can see I was excited about this. Been in the city all these years and moving back to the country, I don't think I would abandon that dream now.
That's hard. We'll go back. We'll try.
They say they'll try, but you take a look at that, and they're the ones who told me this morning that as we walk through there, where do you start? You just take a look at that damage, take a look at all that wreckage, and that's the question people all across this county are asking today. Where do you start? And I'll tell you what's amazing. Take a look at that foundation. Look at the garage there. If you just look up to the left a little bit, it was pretty much untouched. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely frightening. Live at Sky 11, George Sells, WHAS 11 News.
Thank you, George, for that amazing story. Red Cross workers are on the site in central Kentucky to help provide emergency food, shelter, and clothing to tornado victims. The Red Cross will also open a family assistance service center at the Leitchfield Christian Church at 117 West Walnut Street at 2 o'clock Central Time tomorrow afternoon. Now, anyone affected by the tornado can meet with trained disaster volunteers to help determine what kind of assistance might be needed. And the Grayson County Middle School will be open once again tonight for anyone needing shelter. If you would like to help the Red Cross through your donations, you can send contributions to the address on your screen. It is Post Office Box 1675, Louisville, Kentucky, 40201-1675. Or you can call 1-800-272-3635. Well, the worst of the weather seems to be behind us.
It never ceases to amaze us the damage a tornado can do, but we do have a little more rain in the forecast. Ken?
And it may still be a very active evening of the Leitchfield tornado, shot by a truck driver who just happened to be in the area yesterday when it struck. You can see the tornado split apart, forming two funnel clouds that then came back together. The impact of the twister had already toppled tractor trailers in its path when this was taken. That tornado ripped through the lives of hundreds of people in Grayson County.
More than a dozen businesses are destroyed, scores of homes damaged, and cleanup is not going smoothly for everyone. Our Lauren Smith joins us live now from Leitchfield with the latest on that and something else that happened today. Lawrence?
Well, Melissa, we've been getting just what we don't need here in Grayson County. More rain. It stopped for now. It was raining pretty hard a little while ago. Behind me, you see the remains of a business. This used to be a two-story building. You can also see a backhoe here. It's silent right now as the folks who rebuild this business, who used to own this business, rest and relax, as many are here in Leitchfield. It's been a long day, the first of many long days to come here in Leitchfield, and a day that was capped off by a fire. Sirens sounded again in Leitchfield tonight. This time it was not a natural disaster, but a man-made problem. A fire broke out in the debris of the Bailey Lumber Company, apparently sparked by the very equipment being used to clear the rubble.
And how it started, we don't know, but it's pretty good smoke. Then it started flaming, and so we had to get the fire department back out here.
They said there had been like 2 or 3 fires today over there. Small, you know, they were well contained, but I guess just moving the debris.
No one was hurt, but it was just one more misery for a town that's seen more than its share. Not far away, the Burkhead family was trying to pick up the pieces of its diesel repair shop.
It's almost devastating as to where to begin.
The Burkheads had left just moments before the twister hit. Now they're trying to salvage enough to start over.
There's tools that we need to start over that you can't start over without, that has to be found in all this rubble. We just pick up and go from there.
Meantime, police and the National Guard are keeping up their high profile, making sure thieves do not try to take advantage of the chaos.
It's mainly just making sure that the right people are going into neighborhoods it should be. And if there's a problem, that's all deferred to the local law enforcement.
With the help of all the agencies pulling together, we found that a lot of patrolling in the areas. We've not at this time had any problem with anybody trying to get on anyone's personal property.
And that is good news here. Now, authorities thought they had found all the damaged homes here in Grayson County, but tonight the county judge told me they found 5 more in the rural eastern part of the county, so there is much work to be done here, and it begins once again at daybreak tomorrow. Live in Leitchfield, Lauren Smith, WHAS 11 News, 19.
Well, weather-wise, this has been a delightful evening in Louisville, but there's still threatening weather at the scene of yesterday's.
It's called sister tornadoes. Sometimes they're called suction vortices, but that happens around a tornado from time to time. You don't always see it, but it's not a separate tornado. It is part of that circulation, usually gets absorbed. If you had two tornadoes, for example, they would sustain themselves at a distance. But nonetheless, yeah, you can see it. Is it here that it breaks apart? And just
Right
there's
there.
a little bit of a suction vortex. There's a little vortex that kind of wraps around the main funnel and then gets
There.
absorbed right back into it. It's all part of the same circulation. But once again, you see that it's a funnel cloud. There were several funnel clouds that joined together to create that tornado in Leitchfield yesterday. All right, let's take a look at our Storm Team Doppler radar. First of all, if we can do that and show you the activity that we have this evening down.
One back in January in Owensboro, where winds were close to 200 with that. And in Campbellsville, we talked about this last night, all the damage down there, 70-mile-per-hour winds with large hail.
Just a brief time forming two funnel clouds, and then they come back together right there. The truck driver's rig was rolled over along with several other vehicles, as you see there in the storm's path. Some 3,500 residents of Grayson County could be temporarily unemployed thanks to that twister. 8 businesses in the industrial park in Leitchfield were damaged, 4 of them destroyed. The path of the tornado went right through Skyline Industries. Instead of processing wood yesterday, employees there were on the job cleaning up.
We went through how we came through it as a team. I think the cleanup is going to be a challenge, but I know that we can do it as a team.
Skyline says it will try and resume production in stages. Red Cross disaster relief crews are also helping the victims of the tornado in Leitchfield, but they need your help. You can send your contributions to the address there that you see on your screen. It's P.O. Box 1675, Louisville, Kentucky, 40201-1675. Or you can call this phone number, 1-800-272-3635.
Her death was at first ruled an accidental overdose, but now there is new information.
Other shows on Broadway are also your all-time favorite musicals. Catch Kiss Me Kate, Jesus Christ Superstar, The Music Man, 76 Strong, and many more live performances as the biggest stars take center stage. And the winner is Rosie O'Donnell hosts the Tony Awards, CBS Sunday, June 4th. For Lily and her double. Give me what belongs to my family. The danger multiplies. Run! And when they switch places. Lily, Rose, who are you? What happens next is everything. Just tell me where the diamond is. This week, as the world turns. Once upon a time,
This is the one I like.
a man and a woman fell in love.
What if this man is my destiny?
Tom Hanks. It was like I knew her or something. Meg Ryan.
I have to go.
The story that touched your heart. Sleepless in Seattle. CBS Sunday.
In this election year, you'll be hearing lots of promises. Some will be kept, others will be broken. Here's a promise you can depend on.
Commitment 2000. Fair and accurate coverage of local, state, and national elections from News Channel 32.
We'll cover the issues that affect your life. We'll cover the candidates and their claims, and we'll check those claims for truthfulness and accuracy.
Commitment 2000. Comprehensive local coverage of this year's elections on News Channel 32, where the news comes first. Don't miss Furniture Liquidators' big Memorial Weekend sale. Pay just $4 down and $4 per month for 12 months, interest-free. When severe weather threatens, Super Doppler 32's Viper strikes first. Only Viper shows you dangerous rotating winds and powerful 3D images. Super Doppler 32 with Viper First Strike Alert. Only on WLKY News Channel 32, where the news comes first.
You're watching News.
For Diagnosis Murder, the address is CBS. Howdy there. Whoa. Whoa.
Do I look becoming?
That's a setup if I've ever heard one.
You know, that is what I like about you, McKinnon. You're quick.
Not always. So, what? What are you becoming?
Employed. Impressed.
Extremely well.
W-Y-K.
How'd you pull that off? I mean, I know you and Holden have some kind of open door policy, but a job.
Kim hired me back. Can you believe it?
Kim, you...